We are live. We are live. Yes, we're here.
Yes, we are back on, guys. We about to rock and roll. We know we do apologize for any inconvenience, but we are here to celebrate the life, the legacy of our father, and
Yes,
we
sir.
are so excited that God has given us another chance. I'm not certain if yes, it says Facebook is on. I just want to make sure Facebook is public because sometimes it be on, but it don't be public. So y'all just give me a second to make sure these people
And
got it.
while she does that, thank you for joining us. There's a few that joined us on StreamYard only, but of course, we just restarted the broadcast so that we could include all the other platforms as well. So for you that did listen or tune in earlier, when we first started the show about 45 minutes ago, we're waiting on you to come back. Definitely, we are back live, making sure that everything is checking out because we want to stream on multiple channels. We have a wonderful show ahead, and we definitely don't want anybody to miss out on the live experience. But of course, if for any reason you're not able to join us at this time, then feel free to listen to the broadcast at a later time. Give us your feedback, comment, like, comment, share, support. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. And as he said, this is a night where we set aside to definitely dedicate time and tribute to our father who has been on to be with God. Our father passed away, Lawrence LaNier, our daddy. And so we thank you so much for joining us for something that's so important to us in any way or capacity to honor our dear father. This is just one way amongst many to come. So thank you so much for being here, for joining and sharing for a time that we could actually speak about our dad, say his name, and also speak of our experiences in our life, in our love, in our encounters and everything that the seeds has been planted as well. And this is a time of release for us because, of course, we lost our parent, and it's not easy. It never gets easier to lose a loved one. You can't compare and say what hurts one or the other. It hurts. It just hurts, period, to lose a parent. This is a person that, is responsible for your life, like, bringing you into this world, and also the things and the jewels that we've been taught and the examples, the lessons and everything. And so everything comes rushing back, right? So I know all of us have experienced some form of loss or grief in some capacity. And the people that lost parents, I know you know. I know you feel me. I know you know what I'm talking about. Cannot replace mommy and daddy. Cannot replace mommy and daddy. So we're here tonight. And thank you in advance, for the people who are joining and for the people who will have encouraging words. We've gotten a lot of encouragement and support, and I want to say thank you for that. For reaching out to myself, reaching out to my siblings. Um, it means the world to us because we know that, in some way or another you have crossed paths or, been blessed by the presence of our dad, Lawrence Neer, having experienced all of his multiple gifts, talents, capabilities, skills, intelligence, humor, so many other things. So you have shared with us, the pain and grief in some way or another. So we thank you for holding space for us. We thank you for keeping us in your prayers, in your thoughts, and for taking the time to reach out and check in. So thank you. I sincerely appreciate that. Thank you so much. For
Thank you
real.
too. Thank you too, Deborah. I told you every time I see you, you're an excellent co-host. You do an amazing job keeping the attention of the audience. So I do want to say, for some reason, I can't tell whether it's public, and that's what was the problem in the past. But I'm going to continue on. I just really excited about tonight because my daddy, although he's no longer here with us, he's in our heart. And the funny thing about it, I don't know if you've all seen my post just recently. I had a revelation. I said, wait a minute. My daddy was 2 years older than my mommy, and he died exactly 2 years after her. And so it took me back to the process that the Lord allowed us to end the book. Like, it's so funny because when we released the book was released on the day after my mother's birthday. And we did such an amazing event for that contribution to her life. So I'm really excited that that went very well. And we decided and had no clue that God would take Daddy so soon. But what happened to us is like sometimes it's unfathomable because when you have a mother and you have a father and you've known them your whole life and you have relationships, good, bad, and indifferent, it doesn't even matter. But you build relationships. When either one of them go, it's painful. But it's harder because they leave sooner when the other one leaves than you would imagine. Because you're like, okay, my mommy's gone. Now I got to hold on to my dad. I got to hold on to my dad. I got to hold on to my dad. And you do everything within your power. But the truth is that I believe, I'm just going to go straight from my perspective of knowing and realizing relationships when people are in love, whether you understand their love or not, they almost feel as though they can't live without the other one when the other one is gone. I have seen too many. I just had this lady tell me that she know of a couple that she was working for. The mother died first, and then a week from there, the father died. And I said, wow, we think we just went through a heartbreak or a difficulty. But it just made me see that I've seen too many patterns of when a heart is knitted to another person, if they leave, you feel like that heart piece, your heartbeat is gone. Deborah, what you think about that? What's your insight on that? Because that's what I really believe because of the conversation I'm gonna talk to you guys about when the last long conversation me and my daddy had. Go ahead, Deborah, which is in the book as well.
Well, yeah, that was pretty intense because it put me on a. I just went like my thoughts just went a lot of different places while you were talking to that really resonated with me because now I'm thinking back in retrospect when my father first had the major stroke that happened in 2018 and it wiped his memory for a while. A lot of people don't know he didn't remember anybody. When I say he didn't remember anybody, he didn't remember his mother, his
Right,
sisters and brothers, his children, his grandchildren. But there was one person
right, right,
he never, ever, 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 ever forgot. It doesn't matter what happened. If the doctor was addressing him, if the picture that they showed to him, it doesn't matter. He never forgot the one name. It was Audrey.
never.
Audrey.
That was it.
So, and that's from the beginning. That's when he had I'm talking about when everything was white. In 2018, when my father had a very severe stroke and he was left, he was in a common area in the building that they lived in.
Right.
And they took so long to get him help, and that's one of the things, which is another story altogether,
Hmm.
because that's something that needed to be acted on immediately, and they didn't know what was happening to him. He was just slumped, so they didn't know he was going through that. So that hit him really bad. It impacted him because I think because of the time too that it took for him to get to the doctor or to the hospital, but he never forgot his wife. He never forgot Audrey. He never forgot Cookie, even to the very end when there was other people that we would, always try to keep, his memory fresh and keep him sharp. So we quiz him or ask him questions or do brain exercises, mind exercises, or even just showing pictures to like keep him familiar with everybody, getting him on the phone, on the video cam, whatever, and asking him who he's speaking with. Sometimes he got the names right. Sometimes
Right.
he did as time went on. But one name he never got wrong was Orgy. So I just wanted to say that because obviously that's something so deep in his heart and his spirit or in his mind subconsciously to lose your whole like to lose your memory, even though he regained a lot of it back, but to lose it and to still be able to remember the one person who you shared most of your life with. I mean, that's
Right.
50 years,
Hmm.
50 years, 50,
Right.
50 years of marriage before he lost his wife.
Right.
So, we held space. We tried to hold space for him as well because, of course, with the dementia that began to progress so much, there was a lot of things he was detached from his experience and his reality. So
Mhm.
when he did get emotional, it happened sometimes,
Yeah.
sporadically, and we were there for him during those times. But yeah, I agree with you. I know it's something that's so intensely deep that I even, you can't understand it yourself. From outside looking in, people think they can define people's care and love for a person.
Mhm.
You really don't know the depth
Don't
of
know.
somebody's care and love. And when they're partnered or when they're married and under that union. So it's like we learned that way through the latter years of their life. We definitely learned things that we may not have understood as much when we were younger. And speaking for myself, I may not have known the depth of his love for my mom, because it wasn't expressed all the time in the most ideal way, but based on those last years of his life, I definitely had that further confirmation of the bond that was shared, the bond that they had that nobody take away from them.
Thank God. I apologize. Somebody called in the midst of that. But yeah, Deborah,
Yeah.
you know what?
I,
It's
I, I agree. I agree with it's deep though. I mean, I think that's that just hit me because I'm like, I do know of people that, and it's relationships, but it's also sometimes it's like twins. It happens to twins. It happens to people who have like that deep, connection. It's like certain parts of my dad had left in some ways when mommy left.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You just hit it on the head, Deborah, because I remember I'm just working with this thing, y'all. I remember when the part of the book that I expressed really clearly about how the Lord told me that the book was ended. And that was the last conversation Daddy and I had that was that long and thorough and that thick. And he actually engaged with me in conversation. I was helping my dad, getting him prepared, and he was getting dressed while I was assisting him, right? And I want to read it. Do you mind if I read it from the book? Because I think reading it from the
Do
book
your
gives,
thing. Do your
yes,
thing.
gives
It's
it clarity. At the same time, I got Angelo texting me in between, but I just really want to read this because this was such a beautiful moment in my life that I could have never in my entire life predicted the last couple of years of my life. And I know that God, the name of the chapter is chapter 28, and it says, I know I matter. And so I didn't really highlight it because I don't like to mess up my books, y'all. Forgive me. I just love my books. I think they're a gift from the Lord, and He really gave me what I needed just throughout my life. One, because the book is definitely through my life. But the book itself and even the ending, I just did not want to do anything wrong to it. So we lost our mother in 2021. Y'all know that, right? So this was a day where I just wanted to really let him know I wasn't planning this day. That's right. When I was a young girl, I always wanted the opportunity to be able to talk to my father and tell him my heart, tell him my feelings. But I thought I had imagined him being in a bed and he was like an invalid. This was years ago. But sometimes you can want something a certain way, but the Lord will have a total different way. He said, I'm going to answer your prayer, but I'm going to answer your prayer where you're doing something in obedience. And if you're obedient, then I will answer your prayer and make certain that you'll have peace with with the consequence of your prayer. Because we could pray for something, the consequence not be what we expect it to be. But watch God. So I expected him to be in the hospital. And the last part of the book, I was nursing my daddy and cleaning him up and getting him ready. And in the book, I'm gonna read it, y'all. I'm just trying to make sure I'm in the right exact part. Um, so my father was at my house, and I was cleaning him. I normally wash him up during the day, and while I was doing it, all of the bad things that he used to do started flooding my mind. It was a peculiar day. When I was young, I told you I used to have this imagination, so we're going to skip that part. Now he's in my house again. But this time, he does not have the strength to actually do harm to me, right? I was thinking out loud while we were in the bathroom and I was washing him up, and I said, and he started to put his clothes on, and my thoughts became audible. And that's page 212 if you've ever read the book or if you have it. And I said, Daddy, what you did to mommy while we were young growing up was wrong. He looked at me, y'all. This is real. This is real talk. I asked, do you miss her? He said, yeah, I miss her. And he put his head down. I continued, do you remember how you used to do things to her? And he continued. I said, better yet, do you remember me always trying to protect her? And he looked at me. And he put his head down again. I said, I paused and I took a deep breath and I said, I love her so much, Daddy. I love your wife. I love my mommy. And he said, yes, I remember. But he was real quiet and he was sad. But he gave me dialogue. He let me know, I hear you, T. I said, Daddy, that's why I married a man like Angelo. I am blessed. He doesn't hit me. He don't call me out my name. He doesn't do anything that I've seen as a child. And then he holds his head down. Now, I wasn't trying to beat him up. I wanted him to see almost like, thank you. I know that sounds crazy because it taught me that I have to do better. So I said, you want to apologize to her, don't you, Daddy? He said, yeah. And his head went lower. Dad, this is what I said to him. Mom is happy now, man. She has no more pain and no more trouble. And she knows that you want to apologize. And he holds his head even lower. Then I continued, Dad, guess what? I forgive you and I let it go. All of a sudden, y'all, I'm getting a little spiritual. No, I'm getting real with this. All of a sudden, something broke in my spirit. That's what the book said. I'm going to go to what the book said. Something broke in my spirit at that very moment, right? And the book continues in that section, and it says that, I messed up the page, y'all. Forgive me. Something broke in the moment. I felt it in my spirit, and something lifted off of my shoulders. I then knew that my assignment of helping and forgiving my dad was over. Now, mind you, I'm like 48 years old. I thought that I had forgiven my father. And I forgot about in my peripheral, in my front view, that I wanted that moment. So it wasn't embedded in me that I'm going to get that moment. What was embedded in me was I've already said what I needed to say, and I love Daddy, and I love Mommy. I forgave him, even though I was still holding on to things. But the Lord said, if you want true forgiveness, I have to put the individual who caused you whatever pain or difficulty in your face to see how much you really, really want the gift of forgiveness. And he tests you to see how you treat the person, if you're going to love them, if you're going to disrespect them, whatever you're going to do, God is looking at you. Now, I could have said, you know what, I'm going to be mean to him. I don't want to wash him up. I don't want to do this, and I don't want to do. I could have done that. But what good would it have done me? If you're trying to please God, forgiveness is important. I don't care if somebody beat the bahoozy out of you. I know, God, people have testimonies. We've heard them, right, Deborah?
Heard them. I've experienced it.
Right, but I'm just saying
I have my own story.
People's
Yeah.
testimonies that are so gruesome and so...
I've had my own testimony.
Right,
Yeah.
and with knowing other people's testimonies, we know that people have probably went through more than what we've actually had to go through. But what I will say about this is that God gave me victory because of obedience. Because if I had not been obedient, I could not have completed the book that God told me to complete. So Mommy started the story, and we were celebrating her in March. But look at where we are right now. Now, Daddy is no longer here. But I can say this, y'all. Even though we might have our stories about the bad, there was some excellence about my father that you don't know about. And so we've only recently begun to tell our story. So a lot of y'all don't know. Though we had difficulty, we had a lot of good times with my father. And I'm going to talk about my story. Do you mind, Deborah? And it's in the book. You can get the book to get more to know about how, the good times and the bad times. So,
well, let me chime in. Let me chime in because I know the majority of the show, we definitely going to be talking about that because there's a lot of good stuff to say. We have experiences that we would love to share. I just want to first say thank you for your transparency. Okay, you're honest and you're transparent about your experience because, and the reason why I want to say that for many reasons, but one of the reasons why I want to point that out is because sometimes people will try to make you feel bad or criminalize you or demonize you or vilify you
Because you
because
feel
you
like a
speak
human.
honestly about your experiences. Even when somebody is gone and you love them, you still deserve to share your story. You still deserve to speak truth to power. So I want to say that because people will make you feel you should feel wrong for talking about a person like once they passed away or for talking about your experiences if they were good, bad, ugly, and different. And I'm here to like that's a part of the cancellation that I want to cancel all of that. That's a part of the same reason why I'm here, breaking the silence, breaking the silence. There's nothing wrong with being honest and transparent about your story, how you feel, and what you take away from the situation, good, bad, ugly, and indifferent.
Right.
Feel empowered today for whomever is watching or who will watch this later on because trust me, we have people in our not directly in my ear because I block them. I don't allow people in my space anymore who only want to speak, negative or critical ways and everything like that, and have nothing good to say. However, it gets back to us, right? That this person has this opinion, this person has this judgment, and so there's nothing wrong with speaking your story, and you can still, in the same space, love that person, honor that person,
Exactly.
forgive that. Wait a minute, forgive that person. Who would have thought?
Right.
Somebody believes that we have to sing someone's praises and ignore our pain or our trauma associated. Everything is tied all up in that. All of this stuff is true. I am the summation of all of my parts. You cannot fragment me for your convenience. You can't just take a piece of a chunk of me that makes you feel comfortable and rid yourself of the rest. I am the summation of all of my parts, and I say that to say
Right.
all of this stuff is true. It's
Mm-hmm.
true that we have been in an environment of abuse as children. It's
Mm-hmm.
true, right? It's true that we didn't see the healthy dynamics of a marriage and relationship throughout our life. That's true. And then it's also true that we love both of our parents and that we love our dad and that we have good things to say because we've had positive experiences with things that have been poured into us and things that we have been taught as well.
Right.
All of the above is
Right.
our story. So
Right.
nobody can take that away from me or any of us. And T, nobody can take that away from you. So I just want to say that to clear that air because I know there's people talking.
Right.
And guess
And
what?
it's all
We
right.
don't
They'll
care.
be all
We just
right. They'll
you'll
be
be
all right.
okay. You'll be okay. You'll be
There you
okay.
go. There you go.
That's what's up.
And thank you for that, Deborah. That just one thing I thank the Lord
Keeping it
for.
real.
Yeah, but I want to thank the
Mm,
Lord for this because God has a way of mending relationships for the divine purpose that He has, and He even though we were living far from each other, we always love each other, no matter how many you and me had issues. But what I've learned about the Lord is He made our relationship even closer, right? Because He knew what you needed out of this whole circumstance, and He knew what I needed. Now, I'm going to be
that's
real
right.
honest. I am not
That's it.
afraid to tell the exact truth. And one of the major things we did go through was we had our siblings cause division and tried to keep us from being able to love our father immediately after my mother died. But the
Our
joy,
oldest sister, right after our mother died, our oldest sister,
mhm,
she put this whole plot together to take our father, out the nursing home. She kept him away from his children and grandchildren for 10 months. She had my dad. He had designated his power of attorney already, and so she usurped. She tried to usurp all of that. Before my father had a stroke, he had already designated his power of attorney and his secondary, but she changed everything. She forged documents. So we fought for my dad, to get him back to safety.
hard.
And
Yeah.
the state of North Carolina actually had a file this big, Before we didn't even know that they were
We didn't
already
know.
investigating her. So
Right.
the bottom line is that there was a period of time that we wasn't even able to access my father, and he had a decline in health. That's another story. But I'm grateful for the last year because it's been actually over a year because it was May 2022 when we actually got our dad back.
Do you
And when
imagine
I
if
say
we
we, I'm
didn't
talking about the
fight?
other kids, the other
Yeah,
kids and grandkids.
but
Yeah,
Deborah, just imagine if we did not fight for dad and but know that what we were doing was pleasing to our mother's wishes for us. None of our
yeah.
children would have had a relationship with daddy. None of us would have been able to connect with him because we were forcefully sent away where we cannot get to our father.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
but I
yeah.
give God the glory because Deborah, just imagine God was healing me, you, and Sam while he was away. He
That's
was
right.
mending
God was
us to
mending our
have a
relationship.
tight
Yeah,
bind so that
that's
when
right.
it was time,
We
we
stepped up
were
and we held each other
what?
down.
What?
We held each other. We held each other down.
We were like an army that had
That's
a
right.
three-chord fold, and God did not allow the enemy, and I don't call my sister, I call the devil, the enemy, to win. Why? Because when you do things on the side of righteousness, God said He will fight for you. Now, if you're out of bounds and you're out of line and you're doing things shifty and you want to create scenarios that ain't even there, God ain't fighting for
Confusion,
you.
creating division,
Witchcraft,
creating everything.
yes.
Yeah, witchcraft. But we're not dedicating this whole show to the evils that is my sister. But
No,
what
no.
I will say is the reason why it was necessary to put that in there, for many reasons, is because the story that brought us back together is a story that I can look back with gratitude because I had my final moments with my dad. No man knows the day or the hour. So I never knew the day, the moment that I was going to lose my dad, although I knew his health was declining in many ways. We all knew that, but the fact that God gave us that time to be there for him and to be with him and to enjoy him and to love on him. We went to what's that thing we did T with the golf. We went to top took him to Top Golf, went
Top
to
dog,
church.
yeah,
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 he went to the outdoor festival with the church and different
yeah.
baseball games, went to the park and just sitting in the land and the grass and trees. Like he was in a
He
whole different
loves it.
environment than what he was used to. He was in a
Yeah.
countryside, healthy, breathing clear air. Okay.
Yes.
So, there
Yes.
was a lot of positive things that we were able to add, not perfect, but add to his life in his final weeks, months, days. And it
Right.
was not perfect, the whole experience, but I'm grateful that we were able to have that time. And he didn't have to be alone, isolated, which is one person that didn't want him to be around his
And
kids and grandkids. So
Deborah,
God is good.
do you remember when he would see the kids, how much he smiled? Like I remember when Mary would come from
Absolutely.
school and she want to tell him about her day, and he sit there at the table just listen to her, or at the couch wherever he was sitting, and he would just listen to her. So he said, "Yeah," But I
And I
think
was, you know what? I used
she
to look at
needed
that, and I
that.
was, yeah, for real. And I used to be like so happy, like just staring at them because I'm like, I'm so grateful this is happening because when my father first came there, whatever brainwash had happened the 10 months that he was in North Carolina, he thought he only could remember at that time, besides his wife Orgy, because he never going to forget her name. But he was starting to call everybody the daughter that's in North Carolina's name and her son. He was calling everybody. He called his son,
Yeah.
her son's name. He called everybody, the two of their names, until after a while he started getting familiarized with again. Okay, yeah, that's right. I do have other grandchildren.
Right.
Like it's a lot. It's a lot. But he had those moments. He had those precious moments with my little baby niece. Like he said, Mary Tiana, his little baby grandbaby girl, right?
Hmm.
And so he was able to be on the phone, on the video, talking to SJ, talking to Nia, talking to
Uh-huh.
Javen, like just talking to his grandkids, Alicia, all of that stuff matters. All of that stuff matters.
Hmm.
Family matters. And so we were able to give him the other part of the family that had been shut out from his life, that abuse that you do when you isolate seniors and everything like that. That was no more. So thank God that God gave
Thank
us that
God.
time, and I'm glad that you brought that to the front, T. And I'm looking forward to hearing what you wanted to say about your book from the stuff that you learned from Dad.
Well, I'm gonna put the book down. If you want to get it, you can get it. But I just think about so many stories that Daddy did for me. I am Deborah called me the other day a jack of all trades, and the only person that could have made that possible is my daddy. I was
You your
the
daddy's daughter.
yeah.
You your daddy's
But
daughter.
see, the way it looked like I wasn't special. But the older I get, he put so much richness inside of me. Can I just tell y'all, I love my husband. He's an amazing man, but he blessed to have me. Let me tell you why. I could
I can't
fix
wait. I got stuff to
anything.
say to you, T.
I could fix anything. It don't matter how broken up it is. The Lord is giving me gifts. My dad, okay, let me tell you what he used to do. He used to make me go with him when he would go fix on the cars, and it would get dark at night, and I would have to stand there with the flashlight, and he would make me know what he's working on and how it works. So he would make me define each one of the tools. He'll lay them out. This he did in the house, but he laid all the tools on the floor. We were on the floor in the living room because my mother used to get frustrated because Daddy would take things that people have and they needed it fixed. They would give it to Daddy. Well, he would take the tools while we working on another project, and he would he would line them up and say, now, what is this, T? I had to know a wrench. What is this, T? I had to know a hammer. What is this, T? Whatever he had, I had to know. Now, I know it, y'all. Sometimes it just slipped my mind right now. I'm 50. Don't tell nobody. But anyway, my dad would like drill me. And every time he did anything, for some reason, I used to be interested with it. Although he used to make me do it, I think he started recognizing the gift in me. So he began to find his way of cultivating it. He didn't have a boy. He didn't have a boy for a long time. Mind you.
A
Yeah, right?
long time, for
Right,
real.
because they didn't have what year was Sammy born?
83.
Right, so 83. You're talking about T, who was born in 1972. So that means he, even when he was getting older in the prime of his life and doing my dad, he was doing a lot of things. Sammy still wasn't old enough to take under his wing yet. He was an itty bitty baby. So in the 80s, we was on Amherst Street before the house burnt down. And
Yep.
rather before the floor burnt up, right? The third floor burnt up where they lived, because the little boy named
Yeah.
Jabril. I'm gonna say Jabril bad self, because he was so bad back then. Y'all know
Oh, I heard about that. I was real small. I was real small
Yeah,
though.
Fifi, Timmy, all y'all know. I remember bad Jabril and Eddie, all y'all. But Jabril he was so tiny, but he was so bad. And guess what, guys? He lit the house on his apartment on fire because
Burn
it was
our
playing
whole
with
house
fire.
down.
And my mother and my father stayed in that house. But let me tell you, Amherst Street is where I learned how to fix a refrigerator. Go ask me why. A washing machine. Because that's something about mommy and daddy. They weren't the wealthiest, but they always had some things that they needed. That I don't know how they did it. But I think what I know about them is that they would see things on the streets. And what would they do, Deborah?
Refurbish it. They
Refurb.
honestly, they
It
were
didn't matter
geniuses
what
together. They were
kind of wood.
geniuses together.
Yes.
My mother could spot something that was really good enough that it had good bones to it, so to speak, and she
Yeah.
would get in it. She would get it in that house, or she'd be like, "Lawrence, can you bring this in?" Or she'd tell us to bring it in, or whatever. We brought it in,
And
and guess
sand
what?
it down.
They
Woo.
figured it out every single. They was a good when it came to resourcefulness. Honestly, the most
Yes.
resourceful couple I have ever. Listen,
Ever.
let me pause.
Yeah.
The most resourceful couple I
Never
have
seen.
ever experienced or witnessed in my life is Lawrence and Audrey LaNier. Okay,
Woo.
they know
Man.
the stuff that's quality, and they are going to make it better than what it was.
Oh yeah.
Period.
Oh yeah.
Like, and you will not have a need. You will not have a need for anything. Like, I
Yeah.
hate to cut you off, Pete, but that's just how they are, and it's amazing. And I'll be looking at
Yes.
you in admiration. I'm like, we all have resourcefulness to us,
Yeah.
but my God, you got quite a few doses extra doses because I didn't have those one-on-ones with daddy that you speak of, but he still taught me as I got older. He taught me about cars. Now that's
Right.
another story.
Right.
But he definitely taught me about cars. And the
Right.
lesson that I got from my dad that I love so much and I hold it dearly to my heart because that's why people say I'm relentless. And T, you even say it. I'm gonna make sure I make it happen one way or the other. I might aggravate people, but I'm persistent and I'm determined. And I got that from my daddy. Now let me tell you
Yo,
about my father.
now, Deborah, let
We'll
me
be
add
sitting
to
in the
that.
car.
Yeah, there you go. Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead, go
We'll
ahead.
be sitting in the car, and I'll be having some type of situation. And he'd be like this, very calm and serious about it, looking at the manual and looking around at the car, and then looking at me. And he's like, "What do you think the problem is?"
Yes,
And
he
so
challenges you.
we tossed it through, and he was like, "Okay, it's just a process of elimination because the solution has to exist. So you try this, and if that don't work, then you try that, and if that
Right,
don't work, you try that, and eventually we always fix the problem. We always found a
right.
solution because my father told me there's always a solution, and
Now,
so
Deborah,
I can't give up on anything. I
and,
can't give
and
up
we,
on anything."
but remember this too. When Daddy would teach you something, he ain't going to sleep until it's what?
Oh,
Completed.
that's another
So he
story.
be sweating.
Mm,
He'll have cuts on his hands, and he'll still
mm,
fight to the finish. And I got that real good.
for
I
real.
think I aggravate the world because if I find something that's problematic, I'm going to sit there till I found a solution to
Till you
make it
figure it
work
out.
right. That's how Daddy was.
That's how my dad is. My dad will be up in the wee hours of the morning, and my mother like, "Lawrence, get some rest. The blood of Jesus, Lawrence." And he is up in the middle of the night tinkering at something because he was a genius. We're gonna go there because my father was a
An
certified genius.
extreme
Period.
genius.
And I'm telling
Yes.
you right now, I've never in my life seen so. This is like handyman on fleek. What's the word? Handyman
On
to the
steroids.
100th to the 100th power.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Handyman meet Superman. I don't know what to tell y'all, but
Yo,
my dad figured out everything, and you know what? He has it bad, and for some things I do too. Because when I'm really trying to figure something out, I'm going to nail it down, and I'm going to really probably make my head hurt before I figure it out. But
and,
that relentlessness that we got that from dad. Yep.
so I'm thinking about one time when I got married. I first got married. I love my husband. Y'all know that's my dude, right? We weren't even married. We were engaged. Well, you remember this? And so we had this table that was brand new, and we needed to assemble it. Well, I did a lot of shows back in the day, and I know I had an event. Normally, Angelo was with me, but this time he decided he wanted to surprise me. I come back 3.5 hours. Now, this is a girl who can fix anything because her dad made her and encouraged her and showed her that you better stay to the finish. I came back. It was nothing put together. And so I was in shock because I had never seen that happen with a male in charge of something. He's better now. He can fix stuff now. Like, cause I guess he got mad at me talking about my daddy could do, my daddy could do, my daddy could do. And we had to go through counsel. We had to go through counseling
That's
for
funny.
that. Because I had to get delivered from the abilities of my father and recognize you didn't marry your father intentionally. So God had to put me through a transition of understanding. Don't make him be your father. Let his gifts be his gifts. And as we continue with our married life, he got better. So that 3 hours I came back, I was so mad. I was heated. I said, this don't make sense.
Oh, don't start with me, Tish. Do not.
I said, baby, I know we getting married, but Jesus, 3 hours on just assembling the table.
Oh my God.
But
Yeah,
that's
because
because
my father figured out everything. It's crazy. We had a high standard for people to make it happen because both of
yeah.
our parents, they have that make it happen attitude. Like my mother, she never took no for an answer. My father, he make it happen. So
You
when
just
you have
don't
that
take
type of
no.
attitude, like put together, it's like we really be looking at people like you can't do that.
Are you
I try not to
serious?
be judgmental. I'm like, God, please.
But see, I'm gonna be honest, real honest. This is why the Lord said to me the day we got married, He said, see him the way I see him, finished. See, sometimes we get into these relationships and we get into marriages and we want things perfectly in order. Because I was, what? I was a mess, Deborah. Angelo had somebody to deal with. But I thank God that He loved me through it all. Not volatile, not all that chaos, but I'm a strong-willed woman. I'm a businesswoman. I know how to make something out of nothing. If you tell me it can't,
Mm,
I'm gonna say it can be. Don't
yeah.
say it can't. It's not possible. So
And we got that honestly, though. We got it honestly. We got it honestly. We
whew,
really, really did. Because we have seen relentless, our parents, hardworking, diligent. Let's talk about the work ethic. Wait a minute. You
there
ready to
you
talk
go.
about the work ethic?
Now
That
Angelo
man's work
got
ethic?
that. Woo!
Woo! But Lawrence Lanier, I always tell people, my dad, I've never seen, like, he don't play games, okay? He was a diesel mechanic. He graduated the top of his class, Lincoln Tech.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
took pictures with the big George Bush, okay? I have that picture in a frame. I have it.
Okay.
Yes, my father was a genius in so many ways. Everything he did, he was excellent at it. So when he went to work, he took his work seriously.
Right, right.
He would rather be an hour early than risk being 5 minutes late. Let me say that again.
Oh yeah.
My father would rather be an hour early than risk being 5 minutes late. I didn't get that from him, unfortunately. I don't be like, listen, wait a second. Just because I'll be late all the time, but not all the time, but I'll
I
just be tired. I'll be
I
feeling like
got
it.
that badly though. I got that time thing on. I
You
I
did too, because you be giving people anxiety. You be like, come on, come on, come on. I be like, oh my
I,
God.
I am Lawrence in so many ways. And the funny thing about it, as a child, he was always my enemy. But the older I got, I was more like him than any, probably, I don't know. I think
I think you the
people,
most. I honestly do feel like you're the most like daddy as we have grown and matured and developed and evolved into the adults that we are. You have the best of him. You have his best traits. You really
I
do
think
have
because he
dad's
put a
best
lot of
traits.
time in me. I think it's
He
because
did, and you know
he
what?
put
That's a
so
blessing, see,
much.
because everybody has their specific, encounters with the same parent. I didn't have that until I got older.
Mhm.
Then Daddy, we started talking about things mainly with cars, and I think he started seeing himself in me as well. So
Yeah.
he started pulling me closer, and then me and my dad got so tight. Like I'm talking about like starting in my 30s. Me and my dad got so
I
tight.
know. I
That's when I had gave.
remember.
That's when I had gave him the Honda Element, and
Yeah.
he used to just come over, hang out at the house, on
Yeah.
using the computer. He like, I'm bringing your mother over. What you doing today? So he come in the Honda
Hmm.
Element, and they
Hmm.
just come over there, like literally came over there just to hang out with me. And I just
Right.
that's great because as you get older, that's the whole thing. Like you get friendships with your parents, and people don't know unless you've been there to observe. Like you don't really understand the relationship and bond that was forming even more to solidify a natural bond because I came from his loins, so that's the natural bond part. But then the bond that was solidifying as we became adults and everything, I cherish that. I learned so much, like with the cars and everything, and like literally poking at everything for a long time, and we always figured it out. So I want to say for a moment, thanks, Dad. Thank you, Daddy.
Can I give a funny story?
Listen, oh, I got chills. See, I just got chills just now, for
I,
real. Like,
I gotta give a
thank you,
fun.
Dad. Like,
That's my
seriously, it's
dude,
it's some
man.
amazing. It's some amazing parts of my personality and my gifts and my skill set that I can attribute to my dad.
Yeah.
And even though I say I'm probably not the best with time, okay, I'm not always on time, okay. So if any of my coworkers or my colleagues when I used to work for the state of New Jersey County or Union, don't be picking on me and putting in my inbox
Okay.
I was never on time. I know. But guess what? When I came there, I put in work. I put in that work.
Yeah.
So I still have a good work ethic. I'm just not the best with time. I just want to correct that. I got to advocate for myself here.
Well,
But
I'm a mess
yeah,
though, cause like I used to have throw extreme fits if I would ever be late, cause my father was like that. He would like want to leave you if you're not going to be on time, or he want to get out the car because he's tired of you making him be delayed. But can I just tell this funny story, Deborah? Oh my God! But
that
Deborah,
was
don't get
funny
mad.
already because I was thinking of the odd couple. Go ahead, sis.
So listen to this, Deborah. You know the story though. I was a little girl. I was about 8 or 9 years old, and there was this guy. Now, guys, I'm from a different era. We lived in a different lifestyle, where and a different understanding of, let's say, of homosexuality and lesbianism. We had a different lifestyle. So there was this guy who lived directly next door to us. He lived right across from my grandmother inside their building, but he was not a nice person. And so for some reason, he was messing with a little boy, right? And then he started picking with T. Now, look, I was a little afraid of my father. But this time I said, I'm really afraid of my father. So he starts to mess with that with T, right? I'm sorry, my light just went dark. Oh man, it just went dark, and it's not good that it happened. You guys can see me a little bit? No? Okay, that helped a little bit.
I can see you. No, that's better right there. That's good.
Okay, so and it's dark. I'm so sad because you know what happened? My other computer where my lighting is plugged into, it needs a USB, and my Mac, which is humongous, it.
But to be quite honest, with the angle that you're in, there's a lamp right behind you, so it's not the worst. It's not the worst lighting.
Okay, so I'll fix it on the.
It's not the best. It's not the best, but it's not the worst.
All right, so Daddy, I get mad and I start saying something to this guy. He was really, really flamboyant, like a real flamboyant guy, and we weren't used to that. It wasn't a lot of people in the community that we actually saw like that. So he would stick out like a sore thumb because he would always mess with the little kids, and I think and know that the little kids mess with him. So I don't know. I don't think I said anything mean to him, but I came at him when I saw him messing with the little boy, and I was like. And then he cursed at me. He cursed at me real bad. I said, I'm going to tell my father. I went upstairs. I said, Daddy. His name was George. Oh, my God. His name just came to my head. Georgie just cursed at me, Daddy. I'm being downstairs. And Daddy said, no. I didn't run downstairs. Daddy said, okay, T. All right, no problem. He said, go back downstairs. Barbara, everything was quiet. I was sitting on the porch holding it like this because, you know, when you have the banister, right? And I was looking at Georgie, and I was like, in my head, my daddy coming to get you. Daddy took long. But all of a sudden, I felt this wind go past me. Daddy had a bat in his hand. Georgie jumped off the porch, ran all the way down the street. My father was going like ready to kill him. I had never seen anything like that. And then he caught up with Georgie and swung. Georgie, because Georgie was fast now. Georgie moved, ducked his head, and Daddy like, but see, I learned from that moment, don't mess with Lawrence kids. I look dark as I don't know what. Don't mess with Lawrence kids. And I truly realized my daddy must love me. This is way after
that's funny because I just had a mental picture of that because I don't recall the situation. I don't know if anybody knows, but there's an age gap there, so I don't even know if I was born at that time. But I don't recall. But I've heard that story a few times, and I mean it's interesting that you say that because I want to speak to that as well. Because you were saying that we wasn't around that life and then whatever the case may be. But one thing that I can be grateful about for my dad as well, amongst many things, is that, you know, me being who I am and loving who I love, my dad is the one person. I know it was rocky for everybody else to figure out and how to get settled with how to feel about me, but he never wavered. He never questioned that. My dad never stopped loving me. He never changed up on me. He always loved me unconditionally. Like, he embraced and accepted who I was, and I never had to have no discussion or explanation with my dad. You know, he met the people I was dating. I mean, if he was around people I was dating, he treated them kindly or whatever. So my dad was not a judgmental man. He was a loving man. He loved me unconditionally, and, you know, that's something that I could appreciate as well. You know, I feel like he would have chased that boy with a bat if he was anybody, whether he was gay, straight, anything like that. He was just protecting his child. So, you know, my dad, you know, he just pretty much wasn't the one to play with when it came to his kids, but that was something that, you know, T experienced. That's funny. But yeah, I'm happy that my dad still loved me and, you know, never shunned me or never shunned me and never turned me away. when other people had rejected me, when other people had, had their nose up at me, my father never, not one time, said anything or anything offensive or whatever. He said, "I'm gonna love you anyway." That's what my dad told me. He
Now,
said, "I'm gonna love you no matter what."
I'm not gonna say he never hurt me with his words. Yeah, he did. But
Oh,
the
that's a
older
different
you,
story. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, the older you get, you start recognizing the jewels he left you.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, it was things that hurt me. It's definitely things that was said that hurt me. And like things that I didn't feel like that was acknowledged because there was no accountability as far as what happened to our mom, and that really traumatizes kids. I've been reading up on that, just working on my own self with therapy and self, with healing myself and self love and so forth and so on. So I understand the trauma that is associated when children witness their mother being tragic, not tragically, but being violent, being abused, in a violent manner or any manner for that matter. And it's as if you're actually abusing a child themselves. That's the type of trauma, the way that their brain processes it, the fear, the anxiety, the worry, and all the stuff that happened. Like when I was a little kid, I was a bedwetter. I didn't realize when I got older that my severe bedwetting was directly a correlation with the abuse that I had witnessed and experienced, the toxic, violent environment. So yeah, there has not always been good experiences, but we can still love and forgive, good, bad, and different, ugly, and everything in between. I'm just speaking on something that I can appreciate. There's plenty of things I can appreciate about him. So that's definitely one thing that I can appreciate is that he was one of those. I mean, I'm talking about all my siblings. I'm talking about even my mother, who I love dearly, had issues with digesting me being different or whatever. And but my father, he was a loving man in spite of his flaws. He was a very loving man.
My apologies. I wanted to try to figure out if I can get the light together. Plug this up for me, Mary, please. So, Deborah, talk about, and I'm glad you touched on it.
I can't really hear you. I think
I'm
can you
glad you
turn
touched
your
on
volume up a
it.
bit?
Here you go. I'm sorry. I'm like doing 10 things at one time so I can get this light back on. But I'm thinking about, especially when I left New Jersey, and how God began to mend you and Daddy together, and y'all begin to rediscover each other. And I say that because when you were young, you was away, you was there, but you was away because you was in college and you did a lot of stuff that had kept you a little bit away, right? But when you
Hmm.
got to that point where you had more time with them, what did you find that really reconnected? You did say one thing. You did say that reconnected you. But what else did you find? Was it first toiling or discussing the hard things, or like what caused you to really reconnect and get to know him as Daddy now, not just your father, but Daddy, which is more endearing.
That's a good question. That's a really good question. I'm gonna tell a little bit about my testimony. I can't answer that without telling a little of my testimony. I'm gonna be transparent here.
Go ahead.
So, I had dealt with some trauma, when everything came to the surface, when I started to unpack the layers of things that I had experienced, and I was seeing a therapist regularly. I've always been very serious about my mental health and very serious about my growth and very intentional about my healing. That's just the type of person that God made me to be. When I felt myself spiraling downward with certain dependencies and things that were sent to pretty much, I believe is a trick of the enemy, and that's how I was handling or not really handling my issues with depression or my issues with trauma as a result of being in a toxic environment for the majority of my life. I was making bad choices in relationships. I was partying. I was overindulging in substances. I'm gonna keep it real. And at that time, I had experienced somewhat of a almost a nervous breakdown because something that my dad had said had triggered me. It's something he said to my mother and it brought everything back to the front as if the child woke up again. I'm serious. This is the experience that I had. That child was so angry. I began to, I had some type of breakdown, some meltdown. So like I said, I'm serious about my mental health and everything. So I took myself and I went away for a while, and I got help, and I just needed to get away from everything. And I was gone for a considerable amount of time. Some people didn't even know where I was. Nobody actually knew where I was except for maybe two or three people
Right.
that I had confided in. But I really took the bull by the horns, and I decided to get to the bottom of these things, the things that really trigger me, the things that I realized that's lingering or holding me back in this life because of regression, because of past regressions and experiences. So I had to stare it in the face. I had to stare it in the face, and I went through the therapy, the intense therapy for a couple of months. And when I came back, I was able to face my dad. I was able to just talk to him and tell him. I mean, there was a lot of things that he did, that he didn't admit to. I'm going to tell you, it was hard. It was hard because I didn't get the feedback or the accountability that I had wanted. But I had gave him conversation about that in doses, and I allowed myself just the space to forgive myself and to forgive my dad.
Right.
During that time, I was just talking to him like he was my best friend type of thing. Like we were talking, we were laughing, and I mean, he always was funny to me, but I just thought he was so humorous and like everything he did, I just was laughing at, and I took that time just that one on one with him. But I was seriously, see, I went through a process before then. It took for me to uproot all of that pain to stare it in the face, not act like it didn't exist. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? One of the reasons why I wasn't around in my 20s like that, even though I was busy, college, and all the things I was involved with, is that I had to numb myself to even be able to interact with people because I'm like, I thought at the time I was okay. But what I did was I just numbed myself. I didn't handle it. I didn't address it. I didn't stare it in the face. I didn't act. I didn't get it uprooted. I didn't go to the root of things. I didn't, I went to God. I went to prayer. I went to therapy. I ran for my life to get my sanity, to make sure my sanity didn't slip away from me.
Right.
And
Right.
when I came back, I was in a space open enough to forgive and talk to my dad and get to know him all over again as me, as the young adult that I was, just to take the time with him. And we had a ball. We had a ball.
And,
And even
and
during that time,
Deborah,
I gave away I gave him one of my cars, and he helped me, helped me fix my new vehicle. At the time, it wasn't brand new, but it was my new vehicle. But anyway, we bonded with cars. We bonded with laughter, and all the stuff he liked to do with the Roku and the computers. We bonded over that. So I look for more opportunities to bond with him, and I look for more opportunities and chances just to spend quality time.
I
So
think about
when
the
that
story
happened,
about
our relationship
Sam,
grew.
Bora. Remember that story about Sam? Remember the story he told
Huh?
about when he went to go get his wedding ring? Can you hear me?
When he went to get his wedding ring,
When they went to get the wedding ring.
I'm not sure. You have to remind
Sam
me
and
of that.
Daddy. Sam tells a story about how it was his first connection with Daddy that he had never experienced before. Because you remember Sammy's timing was way down the road. So all the bigger kids he could probably develop a relationship while they were small to some degree, though it wasn't the best, it was something. But with Sam,
Well, you and
Sam,
Sharnice maybe, but me,
yeah.
Samuel, and Priscilla, we in the same age group. So I'm only 3 years older than Sam. So we
So
didn't
Sam,
have that one-on-one time with Daddy until we became adults.
right. So I'm thinking about the time Sammy told the story when he went to go get the ring for Lisa and how
Yeah.
Daddy helped him out and they sat and talked. And Sammy said that I think that was the first time in my life that I connected with my father when he had input with helping me get my ring for my wife. And
Hmm.
that really that melted my heart, because Sam didn't get the time, like you said, like you guys didn't get that time when you were young to be with Daddy, because Daddy was dealing with challenges. But what I love about the Lord is that He gives us all the opportunity if we want to receive it. Now
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
can be like don't know how to forgive. we could be mean, we could not, we can hold on to the past so deep that we don't ever get that moment. But I thank God that He gave you your moment with Daddy, and He gave you a season because
In
you
my
had a
years
season.
too.
He gave you a season
Yeah.
with Him such a degree that
Yeah.
Daddy was so loving of you and just awed by you that He asked you to help take care of personal information that He had never asked me because I was there, but I wasn't there because I had a husband and
Yeah.
I didn't have the time like that. But I'm glad
And
that
you
He
know what I
did. I'm
realized?
glad
Oh,
that
go
He
ahead.
did because He chose the right one. Let me tell you why.
Thank you. God bless.
It couldn't happen with the oldest because she was a hustler. She was out there and not in a good situation. It couldn't have happened with the middle because there was some type of disconnect where it never felt like you feel me? You feel me? There was a
Yeah.
disconnect.
Hmm.
I don't know. She may have had her intimate moments, but I'm saying he chose you because you were the. And then Sam was getting married in Maryland, so that was impossible. And T ain't nowhere around 'cause she down in Tennessee. But he needed not only to reconnect with you through that whole season, because it was before I left that he was connecting with you. But what I will say is this: God knew your heart. How about shake him asata? The Bible says that man look at the appearance, but God knows the heart. He looks at the heart. And because he knew your heart, he knew that you'd be the right individual and you would do things according to integrity. Without integrity, we cannot find good success with the Lord. So God identified who you were to your father to be able to trust you with the rest of his life and his wife's.
See, let me tell you this. I thank you. I humbly received that. Thank you for pouring into me. That was edification. I appreciate that. Thank you. I feel seen. I feel seen. I thank you for that. Let me say, I saw what was happening. Me and my dad, as we were building a relationship, and he became my buddy. Like we was homies. Daddy grew such a fondness, but he grew a trust in me that was very
I
deep because
know.
my father was not a trusting person.
I know.
Um, he was not. He don't make decisions willy nilly about anything regarding making choices about for him, and he don't say that.
Right.
Um, so when he came to me to help him with his paperwork for this was at the top of 2018. He had a stroke at the bottom of 2018 in November.
Right.
At the
Right.
top of 2018. But even prior to any talk about power of attorney or wills or anything like that, we have correspondence between us in the emails of him asking me, "What do you think about this paperwork? And can you tell me what you think?" I don't know if it was a test. He was testing me or whatever. Now, in retrospect, I'm like, was he trying to see if I was capable of it? I don't know.
Yeah.
But he definitely confided in me, and he respected my point of view on things and stuff like that. And it feels good when a parent respects your judgment and point of view. You know, it feels
Exactly.
really, really good. Yeah, when a parent says, what do you think about this? And then when you tell them, and they just like, oh, okay, like like that's love right there. That's love in action. Like that's really love when you confide and you can trust somebody and you can trust their judgment and they have good intentions for you and
Right.
you don't have to worry about like the foolishness in between and like keep that integrity. And that's it's not an easy decision to make when you're aging or at any point to
Right.
designate when you have many children or you have a lot of family, the easy part would be the spouse, I guess. But anything other than that, it's not easy. If you talk about secondary, it's not a light decision to make. And so I am honored, that he chose me for that. And I always check in with myself, check in with God, because I have a moral compass that I guide my life by. I want to I
And
want to make sure that I'm doing what's right. What is integrity? Integrity is what you would do even if somebody else is watching. Who is that person when nobody else around?
say
Who
it.
that person when nobody else around? You know what I'm saying? Who's that person? Like who can trust in you? Like that stuff is important. And even like I want to segue to this a little bit because you've talked about it several times about how important it is to put down your wishes and you get life insurance. I want to stress, put down your wishes, please, guys. Like, listen, can we pause for a moment on this? Life insurance is necessary, but please, guys, put your wishes down in black and white because then you have people, unfortunately, that's left behind that's bickering with each other because they think
Yeah,
they know what you wanted, but it's not what you wanted.
it's not. It's
You
not.
know, it's other people that's like know what the truth is, but because it wasn't in black and white and it wasn't written, it's like people still want to be able to speculate. So forever we are accused, me, T, and Samuel, of mishandling things because the kids that wasn't around my dad at all have so much to say about stuff now. Now that he's sicker and before he passed away, now that he was frail, suddenly they know everything that he wanted and they wasn't even around. So please, guys, listen, anybody under the sound of my voice, when you listen to this later on, I actually sent something to my brother recently. I sent him a file so he can know what, how things, God forbid, we all have a time to go, so he can know how I want things to be. I even called my sister T and told her what I would need for her, from her. Like, this is real, guys. Like, listen, it caused unnecessary stress on the people you leave behind when you don't make your wishes known. So
Right.
I behoove you all, even though I know what my father said to me, my mother was there, she witnessed it. Even my ex-wife witnessed it, to be honest with you. It's people that have witnessed and was there or heard or seen. He knows, Samuel knows.
Yeah.
They know what the truth is. However, there's still people that saying, no, 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 that's not what. So let's get our wishes down on paper and on black and white because nobody knows when their time is coming. But yeah, I thank you for that
Can
question,
I
T.
can
That's a
I
very
piggyback
yeah.
on what you just said?
Yes, of course.
The infamous Aretha Franklin, she must have written her will and made a mistake and put it on the side of her couch. So now her children are in court because the will she wrote handwritten is completely contrary to the one that's on file. So now they're in court
Oh
and they're
boy,
fighting for this and they're fighting for that.
that's
The
hard.
thing is
That's
that
hard.
she was smart. She had two forms of wills, but she had one that was updated but written by hand. She just died before she can tell anyone because she probably forgot because she was getting older that she left it on the side. Maybe company came. You know how you just slide something on the side, and that's probably what happened. But it was a folded up piece of paper that was an actual will that she hand wrote, and they just found it. I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks ago. So now they're back in
Wow.
court trying to figure out. Okay, we made this wrong from the first will. We got to fix it. But at least she, to some degree, wrote her wishes down and had something before then. See, a lot of people don't plan for death. They don't plan for life to change. They don't plan for that day that everyone has to visit.
At some point, I know it's not an easy pill to swallow, but at some point we all go. We don't know exactly when. That's the thing. So it's like just put it down so you can help your loved ones that you really care about to know what it is specifically, so they won't have to assume and go. Because some of them people mean well. They really mean well. They be like, in my heart, I believe she wanted to wear white, and then you really wanted to wear purple. Like put it down. And I know it sounds trivial, but trust me, there's a number of things that people will nitpick when you lose people. They will find something, a problem with everything. So if
Everything.
you don't put it down, somebody gonna have an issue with it. And
And
you know for a
parents,
fact huh?
parents, you cannot dictate which one of your kids gonna act up.
Mm-mm. But I feel like the
You,
parents, the parents know. They know. They just didn't know what to do about it. Like, cause mommy and daddy know their children. They knew who
yeah,
had to do
yeah.
what and be what. But I just think
But
that they
you
just
would
like,
never
look,
imagine the other
yeah,
one acting up in that way, because she was
no,
a person of the
yeah.
cloth, supposedly.
Yeah, because we put the oldest one out, so let's be honest about the middle one. The middle one hatched this whole big plan. The middle one hatched this whole big plan to get my mother to sign an insurance policy with her. And then when it came time when mommy passed away, she didn't spend not one dime, not one dime. She didn't use mommy's insurance for her death benefit, for her burial or any expenses. So even though my mother had been paying insurance, who had been very responsible to put things in place, both of our parents, My sister had swindled, betrayed my mother, and
And tried to
so
get cash from
all
us.
of us came out of pocket for mommy's arrangements, and at the time we were able to do it big like that, it's a
But
shame that we
then,
had to do that. I mean, it's a shame that we had to do that because my mother had prepared, and look what happened. So you got to be careful with who you put into whose hands that you put those major things that's going on in the end of life. You have to please
yeah,
ask God for discernment. Ask God for discernment. Like, just please ask God for discernment, and that He will give you the peace of your with your decision. Because obviously, you're not going to be able to check anything after the fact because you won't be here. So just ask God for discernment and for peace with your decision. But put something in writing. Be clear about it. Even get it notarized if you can. That makes it even more solidified. If you do have an attorney drafts it, even that's actually the best way you can go about it. But if you can't afford the attorney, they have different apps right now where you could actually put together all of those documents. I think I used law.com to put my will and my wishes together. And you could go on a free trial and then cancel it. Do your documents, cancel the
or you
free
can
after the
just,
free trial, cancel it.
or you can do it yourself. Get it notarized. Get a lawyer's
Yeah,
signature, and it's a will. It's a will.
exactly. So
As
please,
long as you have your signature there, the date that you did it, and the directions of your will, you will be. I mean, at least that's the what's that called, the way that you do that. Like when you sing your music to yourself, I forgot. It's like you do your own
like the four
copywriting.
man
So,
four man
yeah, poor
copyright.
man. Yeah, but it's something that is better than nothing. The
Yeah,
problem
it's better than
is
nothing.
that families are not preparing, and so they don't know which one of their children are going to act up. They don't know if they're going to act up at all. Or I have had a young man, I'm sorry, this broke my heart, who wanted nothing to do with his mother's funeral. He had the money to contribute, and his mother had no insurance. The sister suffered by herself trying to get family members and people to contribute. Here's the thing. God wants us to leave a legacy to our children. So we're wrong when we don't do that. Okay. But the honest thing about it is that we don't know. Like I said, I'm going to keep going to this. You don't know which child. They could be loving you in your face. Oh, mommy, I love you. Oh, you ain't leaving nothing. I ain't paying for your funeral. We don't know who will do that and just leave it on one individual to get the whole job done. When that young lady went through that, it was like heart wrenching because he literally said, with all this flossing, got him on YouTube channel and everything. He's just amazing, but he could care less that his mother died and has no way to be buried. So let's do better. Let's do better. Insurance
Please,
is
please,
necessary.
yeah, please.
Let's love our family beyond the grave. That sounds weird or something. But let's
Yes,
love them
yes, yes.
beyond that. Let's show
Beyond that,
them
yes,
love.
yes.
Love is an action verb. It's not something that you do just out of saying it with your mouth. Love is something you do with action and making certain that you have security after you're gone for your children. Listen, our kids, they got to work just like we had to work. They got to hustle just like we had to hustle. So sometimes they might not have an extra five or six, $7,000 left somewhere. And even if they do, is it fair? We should be giving them instead of taking from them. That's why,
That's right. And that's the
my
thing. That's what our parents intended on doing, and they were mishandled. So please,
yeah,
like,
I
be
mean, because
careful
even
again.
dad, talk about dad's
Yeah.
insurance. Listen, I'm transparent. Let's rock it. My dad
Yeah,
had
my
insurance
father had insurance. My father had insurance. He'd been paying on three policies for many,
for
many, many, many years.
years
And I
and
tried,
the
and
pots.
when my dad wasn't I well in his mind, and he had took a turn mentally, then my mother kept everything intact. Never missed a beat for her husband. She kept everything intact. Period. He had a stroke in 2018. So from 2018 to 2021, mommy did not miss a beat. Okay. So what happened when we lose mommy is I'm the secondary. So she passed the tour. I mean, it's passed to me. She didn't pass it, but is passed to me because she's no longer here, right? So I kept everything intact. Now what happens? I only was able to keep it intact for a short period of time because the oldest sister went against our agreement. All the siblings wrote up and drafted an agreement that the power of attorney will remain in place. All the things that's already in place will stay as it is. Dad will just be there with you for a temporary stay while we get situated and settle our mother's estate, because we had a lot of cleaning to do. We had two storages, which was my mother's storage, my grandma's storage, and my parents' home. So you imagine it took us more than a month. No, I'm sorry, 2 months, okay, to get everything cleared away at all those spaces. And we were under a lot of duress and stress. We grief. I mean, we just lost our mother. So the other siblings, well, me, T, and Samuel, took care of everything with mom's estate, and supposedly our older sister was going to handle it and take care of dad in the meantime, just temporarily, of course, but not change his finances, not change his banking, not change his anything. She went against everything that we agreed to. We have this in writing. This is a document we all signed, a legal document that held up in court, and that's why my dad was turned over to the proper children, and that's us. But anyway, she went through the whole thing, and she did the exact opposite of what everybody agreed to. Everybody, not just me. She went against it. She rerouted his finances because she had, actually, I have a document I could bring in here now if I wanted to. Daddy's being sued for the rent amount that she didn't pay, because when she left her place in North Carolina, she used my father's information so that she could get that place, right? And so now I have a document from that housing unit that says that my father, who passed away, owes them because of the place that my sister put my father's name on. See, I didn't even get a chance to tell you that. Yeah,
so
they're suing a dead man.
Deborah, let me interject. For those who had something to say, here's the truth. You were doing everything that you could kick our back in, but you don't understand. Those judges, those cops, those detectives were investigating.
They did the work. They did the background check.
We had no clue that they were doing that. They actually thought we were like the oldest sister and decided to interrogate us or inquire,
because they wanted to make sure we wasn't like her.
Sure, we weren't the same type of people. So they start looking into us, and they said, you know what? Y'all nothing like her. And the judge said,
so let me finish with the insurance thing.
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
The insurance thing. I'm gonna wrap that up real quick because I need everybody to understand. So 3 policies. So when she did everything she did, because he was maintaining his own policy through his income, through his Social Security income. So when she changed and rerouted everything, and she had actually forged documents saying that she was the power of attorney. So I couldn't access anything. I couldn't pay anything. I couldn't do anything. My hands were tied. And so 2 of the policies had lapsed. And so she had to reinstate one of them. She was able to reinstate. But because it had lapsed and my dad hadn't had that policy that had been reinstated for 2 years, he was not able to get the full benefit. He was only able to get what was put in to the policy. This can all be proven. My brother was on the phone on a 3-way when the insurance agent explained everything to us. We have documents, and she always says documentation beats conversation, but she hasn't produced one. But one day I'm going to give you guys everything, all the documents. I'm talking about from the legal guardianship papers, the restraining order that we have.
Deborah, you don't have to do
No, I'm just saying. No, listen. I'm going to just say, the lawyers and everybody, they even, they gave us advice and said, you know what, listen, the only way we'll be able to do this is we have to get a restraining order. That wasn't even our idea. We had to get a restraining order against her in order to get our dad to safety, because he was being put in a compromised position and not given his medication and a lot of other stuff that was going on with him. He was being mishandled and isolated from his family, like we talked about earlier. So the insurance policy, everything lapsing and not having enough, we had to make some decisions, some quick decisions, because one thing about my older sister, she always talks about million-dollar dreams, but she's never been able to produce anything. She's never helped me with anything. We're 10 years apart, and I've never seen any type of financial assistance with anything. So, especially when it comes to big ticket items, like my mother's funeral was $16,000. She gave us maybe $25. I don't even know. It was minuscule, nothing towards mommy. And then now daddy's here. She couldn't contribute to that at all, but she had a lot to say about what we should do and what the plan should be and what. This is what I'm saying, guys. Put your stuff on paper. And T, I know you're saying that I don't have to do that, but one day I just may, because the thing is that I'm a very judicial and diplomatic person. I don't have to sit here and argue with somebody back and forth. I'll just show you. And then we can just go from there. All the other stuff is beneath me. That's why I've blocked people from my phone, from my text, from my email. They can't contact me. Anytime they email me, it goes to spam. So I don't see the emails. Like the scripture says, shun the very appearance of evil. I will not entertain it. I will speak my piece and I will move on.
Let me jump into here right now, Deborah. And I think that we need to show that God orchestrated everything. Because what the devil meant for evil, God turned it around and brought it out for good.
God turns it around for the good.
No matter what tactics he used. That's why I said, people, when you have life and situations happening, make sure you're on the side of righteousness. Because if you're on the side of righteousness and not witchery, not deception, not everything that is demonic, you will have a better opportunity to win on the side of righteousness than you would if you were doing things to be conniving or deceptive. If you have that at your forefront, trickery, deception, why would God work in your regard? Let me tell you something. The Bible says, now watch this, I'm about to go a little deep. The Bible says the prayers of the righteous availeth much. Not the prayers of a witch, a warlock, a demon chaser, a demon playing with the devil. God wants us to be real. He wants us to be on the side so that he can show you he's going to get the glory. It wasn't like these situations that have arisen in our life wasn't difficult. But because we had the Lord on our side, every time it ended, there was victory and peace. There you go. And we never lost the battle because we were on the side. Look, remember Moses said, look, all y'all fighting about this and you're mad at me for leaving and going praying, and now you're going to bow to these idols. He said, who's on the Lord's side? So when mommy passed, God decided to approach us with it. Who's on the Lord's side? Now daddy passed. God came again to us. Who's on the Lord's side? And when God realized who was on his side, he already, he even prepared us before daddy because we put things in order. We had such peace in the very beginning of the whole process.
God did prepare us.
We were so prepared when daddy passed away, not because we harmed him or put him in harm's way, but because we knew we were being led by God and we were trying to work hard to fulfill his wishes, not something
our heart is in the right place. Yeah, our heart is in the right place, so it all worked out. And the people that try to disrupt it and try to have their own agenda or try to cause confusion as usual or try to be bickering or try to bring drama, they did not succeed.
They didn't win.
That's another thing we can do. We have encouragement for you who's watching, whoever's tuning in. Thank you for tuning in. You hear this tonight, you hear this tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. We want to say, the prayers of the righteous avail much, like T said. Please be encouraged. Understand that when your heart is in the right place, God is going to work it out. It might not look like it at first. It don't mean that you're not going to have hard times. It don't mean you're not going to be stressed out sometimes. It don't mean you're not going to be worried or scared sometimes. But listen to me. Mm-hmm. When your heart is in the right place, God will show up for you in the most unlikely situation. When we went out to North Carolina, we did not know these people. This judge talked to us with the most kindness and warmth, like she knew us her whole life. And she said, y'all stay sticking together. I see what's going on, and I love y'all for it.
Yes.
Well, do you understand that everybody, listen, everybody conspired to work in our favor. And we didn't even know what was going on.
We had no
We didn't know it was 20 unmarked cars that came out of nowhere that was
Jesus.
already paying attention to the situation. We only knew of two cars that was
We
coming
only
to escort
saw,
us to get our father.
yes,
We knew of
yes.
two cars that was coming to escort us to get our father. Come to find out, they lined up the whole block.
Parking lot.
Unmarked cars,
Jesus.
deputies, sergeants, troopers, all because to bring my dad to safety and away from somebody who clearly, and I pray, listen, if you want to, we all got our own issues and things to work out. They say work out your own soul salvation. So you go ahead and you go get some help, some mental help, because you've been terrorizing people long enough. Are you not tired of that? All these years of, the confusion, the chaos, the drama, and starting up and making fires all the time, and, people
So,
avoiding you.
Laura, let's tell them what we talked about today. So the Lord gave us something in our spirit because we've been dealing with stuff on our own. Me and Deborah have different household, right? And so we both decided, no matter what any of our sisters have done, we're going to do what? We're going to love them, and we're going to ask the Lord to help heal us to
Help us so
completely,
we can forgive, because I don't want to
completely.
carry this stuff.
I ain't going to hell for nobody. I'm going to forgive you and love you no matter what you have done, or you still try to conjure up against me. I'm still
Whatever
going
you
to
think
love
you're
you.
doing, it doesn't, it's not, obviously, it's not going to happen, right? Because God covers his own. But one thing I will
Yes.
say for sure is that I will use the knowledge that I've gained over this time to make wiser decisions. So I do not invite you into my life. However, in terms of forgiveness for me, forgiveness is for yourself too. It clears the space and air within yourself so that you can be able to breathe. There's a lot of things that has happened I've been wrong. I can't change that. So forgiveness is also acceptance, accepting what happened and realizing you're powerless against what happened. You can't change the past.
Right,
What
right.
I can do from now and going forward is to continue to ask God, am I presentable? Am I good with you? And clear the air for myself so I can have peace of mind. So to that degree, I forgive. To that degree, to know that I care and value my peace and where I stand with God above and beyond anything. And I don't want to, have to be carrying that baggage because I didn't ask for the situation to have a sister who's a narcissist and a terrorist. I'm 10 years younger than her, and she hates me and envies me. I never done anything to her. I've opened up my doors to her. So there's a
All of
long
us.
story
All of
of
us.
mental illness and spiritual wickedness. And so I don't want any entanglement or engagement with that. And you have no power. It's powerless. So I will say, at the end of the day, no matter what, God still worked it out that we was able to spend the time with our dad that we needed. We was able to get the time with our dad that we needed. We're able tonight to talk about many things that he poured into us and how we've experienced our dad, our relationships and our bonds. And that's what matters. That's what ultimately matters is love. What matters is love, relationships, bonds, and people that truly care about you. That's the stuff that really matters. Not the people who just have nothing to say but bad. Because the thing is that people that only speak negative stuff about people all the time, that's a projection onto you, but that's how they feel about themselves.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's how they feel about themselves. I've actually had this same person who's saying all this bad stuff about me now. Just a couple years ago, she sang my praises. Oh, you're so sweet. You're so smart. Everybody loves you. And everybody, if you say something, they'll probably listen. And all the time it was envy. It was under the guise and mask of admiration, under the guise and mask of compliments, but it actually was a deep seated hatred and envy that came out when we lost our parents.
So let's pray
So
right here. Let's pray right here, Bora. Let's
let's
pray
pray.
right here because
Let's
I
pray.
want to pray over
Always.
that right now because I want you to walk away from this show knowing that you learned a lot about Lawrence Lanier. That's my daddy.
Right.
You learned a lot about his legacy and his life and what he deposited into us. And I also want you to walk away with knowing that even if you have issues or family situations, there's literally nothing too hard for God. And I can say that
Nothing.
because we look at Tim and how it was a disconnect for at least 30, 40 years. But God has brought us to the point where we love each other, we miss each other, we talk to each other, we engage with each other, we've forgiven each other. So I believe there's nothing too hard for God. So I'm going to pray right here because the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but they're mighty through God to the point that this is not a natural thing. This is a spiritual thing. And
It's
sometimes we got to
spiritual.
recognize the enemy and his intent against us. So we need to not just say we forgive, but Lord, we pray, God, that you forgive our sisters and our families and those who've done harm. We ask that you, oh God, will give them grace and mercy and give them time to be able to come and make it right with you, because at the end of the day, God, you will judge all of us according to the life we lived on this earth. And I ask you, God, that you forgive my family members. You allow them to recognize that they have erred in their ways, but then they'll turn their heart right back to you in the name of Jesus. God, there is nothing too hard for you. And we trust that all things work together for the good to them that love God, to them who are called according to your purpose, oh God. So we thank you tonight. We thank you for this opportunity. We thank you for the joy you've brought. And we also thank you for that person out there, God. If they have any pain or any difficulty or don't understand how to take care of their funeral and things that will happen in their life, God, give them the wisdom, God. Let them reach out to us, oh God. Let them know that there is help, God, if they put their best foot forward and make sure that they leave a legacy for their children, God, that you'll make all things come together in their favor in the name of Jesus, God. We thank you for peace. We thank you for joy. We thank you for the Holy Ghost power that will cover a multitude of sin. And we thank you, Lord, for all these things. Listen, y'all, I hope you enjoyed the show. Deborah, you good? You got anything
Amen.
else to add, baby?
Well, yeah, my father was a genius. So one thing we didn't get a chance to mention is that he was able to pull computers apart and rebuild them and make a whole new unit. I never seen that happen before, but it happened right in front of me with my dad.
He's a
My dad was
gifted
able
man.
to pull cars and engines apart and put it back together. So again, I'm grateful and I'm thanking God for the amazing skill set, intellect, and even like the times that I do remember when I was younger. I was a gifted child, and sometimes I did have some hiccups in math, and my dad was able to help me in that area and that subject because he's very left brained. Like I'm talking about the technical, scientific,
A
mathematical genius,
mathematician.
and
Yeah, he was good.
I'm grateful for that and so many other things. My dad served in the military, served in the army. And there's a lot of other things that we will share because this is just the first of many other things that we have in mind that we're planning on doing, in honor of my dad. So just stay tuned. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your prayers. I know we poured a lot out, but this is real talk now. Like this is called the talk storm. All right. You know when a
That's what
storm
it
comes, it's
is.
it's coming down. So listen, we got a lot to say because we're very passionate and there's a lot that has happened over these past few years. But thank you so much for joining. And we look forward to the next show and the next time. And just keep tuning in, keep supporting. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Like, comment, share, subscribe. We got some other things rolling out that's coming really, really soon, guys. So just keep your eyes and ears open. And again, thank you for the love and support. We appreciate you. And even if we don't see you here right now, we can steal your prayers. The people that are praying, we know you're
Yes.
there, and we know, and we thank you so much, and we honor you. So, yeah, for the people who have loved my dad and who have had relationships with him, and who have anything that you want to say, feel free, please. On the post because I actually shared the link on T's page as well for this very live stream or from StreamYard. Go ahead and put some comments there on your memories of my dad or your last
Amen.
encounter, your last experience. I want to say rest in peace, rest in heaven, rest in power to Lawrence LaNier.
Yes.
I love you. I honor you. I thank you so much, Dad, for everything that you poured and instilled in me, and even the bad things, because guess what? It makes me who I am. And those lessons is what made my mind stronger and able to develop into the person that you was able to admire as well. So, Daddy, thank you so much. I love you. Laura,
Thank you.
Larry,
Love you.
LaNier, I love you forever.
Love you
Thank
too,
you. Thank you,
Deborah.
everybody, for tuning in.
Thank you so much. Y'all have a good night.
God bless.
God
Good
bless.
night. Peace.